Hey everyone, my name is Nick and welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the changes that have come along thanks to the new chapter approved Warzone Nachmund, the Grand Tournament pack, which contains all the new missions, some tweaks to the main rule set, and of course the big important points changes for those of people that play match play. And this is going to be focused on the Thousand Sons, as always in this moment of Thousand Sons madness that I've been going through for the last, well, it feels like forever. I do want to do one on knights and other factions that I do play as well at some point, but for the moment we're going to stick with the Thousand Sons and just have a quick look at what that impact looks like. So let's get straight into it. So the new chapter approved then dropped on the 29th of January 2022, and this is, I believe, a two-parter. So every year there's going to be two DLCs, if you want to call it that, where the modifications to the main way that Warhammer 40k is played, points adjustments, rebalancing, and all that kind of good stuff is going to drop on us. So yeah, Warzone Nachmund is the first one of these seasons, as GW are referring to them as. So we're going to take a look at the critical changes affecting the Thousand Sons. There are three critical aspects to the change in chapter approved this year that are going to affect the way that Thousand Sons players play their game, and any other faction, to be honest. The first one is picking your army. There's been a restriction in how this works. So within the Thousand Sons we have all of our wonderful 9 cults that we can pick our detachments to be a part of. So for example, you could run a battalion that is the cult of duplicity and a patrol that is a cult of time, and then all your models will gain those benefits. Now the restriction here is now that any sub-faction or bracketed keyword that your army can adopt must be the same throughout the entire army. So you can no longer run two different cults within your army list, or 2 different cabals, or 2 different witch cults, and so on, right? All the sub-faction mini-souping, if you want to call it that, within a single army is now gone. So you can't mix and match those 2 aspects of the army. They're all going to have to be from that same cult. So where we've discussed previously whether you want to run, you know, as I said, a battalion, cult of time, and duplicity, side detachments added to your list, you're now going to have to pick and stick with just the one, so that flexibility disappears. Looking at what options we really have, I mean, I've just mentioned the 2, duplicity and time are going to be the 2 that are most played. So this is going to be the difference between your manoeuvrable armies with duplicity, or time for the resurrection factor. Are you going to want to play more defensively or more resurrecting type forces, or you're going to play a bit more aggressive perhaps with that with the movement shenanigans that we can get with duplicity. The second critical change comes with selecting your secondary objectives. Now previously with any pamphlet and publication you could pick the secondaries associated with it, providing you pick one from each category. Now you are now limited that you could have to pick 2 of your 3 secondary objectives from this chapter approved pack, and only 1 other objective can come from other publications, such as your codex or supplements. So that means it's going to limit, if you really wanted to run all of the codex specific ones, you now cannot. You're going to have to pick 2 from this book and just 1 from our codex. Now the final critical change really only affects super competitive tournament kind of base play, and that's when it comes to ending the battle early or conceding. Now previously a lot of players would talk out the rest of the game. If one player has said, right, I'm not going to get any further, we'll just work out, you know, we've got 2 turns left, you're going to get this, you're going to get that, I'm going to get that, therefore the score is going to be 85 plays 60. But there was no way that the player who scored 60 would ever win, so they just play it out, and that can really affect how competitive matchups actually really work. So this has now been changed, that there's now a cap that if one player concedes, and this isn't both mutually accepted, one player concedes, the maximum score that the opposition can get is 60 points from the game plus 10 points for their painted army. So no longer can you now talk it out and say, well, I've conceded, I've got 50 points, you play out the rest of your game, and suddenly you've got the maximum 100 points. That really does swing how competitive play works, how the matchups work, and how tiebreakers can potentially work. There is, of course, a downside, is that if you are a very, very good player and you are losing, you can influence where your opponent is now potentially going to sit when it comes to those points calculations. Previously, they might have sat there and got 80 or 90 points. Now, they're only going to max on 70, and that can be very unscrupulous. It would be very bad sportsmanship to do it. I do not encourage that kind of activity, but it is an interesting way of looking at stopping players talking out a game and potentially getting more points than perhaps they really would have done. So now it's a very key change, especially in that competitive arena. So with those three critical changes, in my opinion, out of the way, let's talk points. Now, Thousand Sons are all about the change, right? Let's talk about what's happened. You'll be pleased to know this is an exceptionally short section on this video. If you look at the points from the previous 2021 book, the Munitorium Field Manual 2021 Mark II, and then compare that to Chapter Approved Munitorium Field Manual 2022, literally nothing has changed. Not a single point in the codex entries at all. No war gear, no weapon upgrades, no base unit costs. Nothing has changed. The Thousand Sons have a 0 points plus or minus to their entire faction whatsoever. What does that really mean? To me, that shows how probably balanced and well written the original codex actually is for 9th edition. It's okay, it's not winning all the major tournaments. It's also not getting smashed in any big tournaments or even friendly play. It sat there quite comfortably in the middle. No one whinges about it. It's kind of under the radar. It does well in the right hands. For me, that's a sign of a well-written codex. We're not getting the Drakari complaints. We're not getting the Skitari complaints. All the massive rebalancing that happens with a lot of other factions, we're not getting it. Or even the underpowered side, Necron's getting massive points reductions because they're just really bad. So for me, that just shows how well written and how well rounded that codex was. Yes, we don't have masses of units to choose from, but it does show how well it was written in the state of current play. There's nothing worse than being one of those players who goes, yeah, I've always played this faction, and they pull out this ancient army, or they quickly find one on eBay and say, look, I've had this for ages, and suddenly it's the most powerful one in the game. We don't have that problem. This is such a good thing, in my opinion. But there are some other points changes we do need to discuss, and that comes with Forge World selection. And once again, we don't have a huge amount to talk about here either. The only actual change of any note at all. In fact, I've just gone through all the points under the Chaos Space Marines entry, and nothing's changed except this one entry, and that's the Twin Volkite Culverin on the Contemptor Dreadnought. Now, Contemptors, or the Volcon, that's the Contemptor with Volkite, option has been very strong in the competitive arena, both for Death Guard, both for Thousand Sons, specifically for Thousand Sons because of some of the strength and AP buffs that we can do to boost the capability of that gun as a standalone. It used to be 5 points per gun, making the unit cost 140 plus 25 points, making it 150 points, plus I believe it costs a command point as well to run it. They've gone up by 10 points each. They're now 15 points a gun. So 30 points for the Twin Volkite Culverins makes it 170 point unit. So you're going to have to find 20 additional points to field your Contemptors with Twin Volkites these days. That's just about a cost of a Rubric Marine at 21 points. Or a Spawn, you might have to sacrifice a Spawn at 23 points each. People that are running them, I'm sure will still continue to run them. They haven't been hugely nerfed in the points arena. And that's pretty much it. Fire Raptors, Sakaran Punishers, Venators, Laser Destroyers, Scorpiuses, other options that are pretty strong in the Thousand Sons meta because of that 5+ invulnerable save that we can give to all of our vehicles because of the nature of Thousand Sons. Yet they're still all the same points. So the only thing there is the Volkites going up. So let's talk about these books overall for value, shall we? Because you can see my voice has dropped as we talk value. So these two little books are £25. They're pamphlets. They're not even proper books. They are pamphlets. £25, $40. I dread to think what it is in Australia. I just did try and have a look actually on the Games Workshop website. I couldn't even find them on the GW Australia page for some reason. but £25, $40 for a Thousand Suns player for one potential points change if you're running Forge World. And okay, you're gonna need the secondary missions to play the game. Is it value for money? It's not, is it? It should be free. Let's be honest. It should be a DLC PDF to what you've already paid for. Pay for the rulebook, and then don't pay for these. That's my personal opinion. If you're running multiple factions and all these points affects you, if you've got, you know, the Necron army, the Drakari army, and you've got a plethora of armies, then there's going to be more value the more you use it. The more you play, the more you use it, especially in the competitive arena. You're going to need it anyway because you're going to have to prove that you've got these books. Now, it's almost a bit pay-to-play-ish. But yeah, it's expensive. You're going to be doing that twice a year, £50 a year, $80 a year, for the privilege of minute points adjustments to something you've already paid for. This is akin to a video game you've already paid for a AAA title for £60, £70, and then they tweak the game throughout its life cycle. Weapon balances, map balances, all that kind of stuff happens for free outside of, you know, DLC packs with skins and all that kind of stuff that you get in that gaming world. But weapon balances, which is the equivalent to you know, points changes in Warhammer, are just implemented into the game, and they just happen. And yes, it's electronic, but there's no reason why this couldn't be a similar way with Games Workshop, let's be honest. But yeah, no mega changes for the Thousand Suns. So I've padded this video way too long to talk about something that hasn't really happened. Points changes, nothing, but there are those three critical aspects, let's be honest, about the army selection itself. Only one cult per army. No mixing and matching your duplicity and time combos anymore. And those secondary objectives. You can only pick one from the codex, and two have to come from this Warzone book. So there we go. That doesn't stop, of course, you playing how you want to play. Open play, narrative play. There are other ways to play this game other than the Super Smash Combat Match Play only version. So if you do want to play with your friends and just say, do you know what, I want to run a double thing here. I think it's thematic and cool. Let's do it. And people are going to be very open to that idea. Let's be honest. It's not. We're not here to be the Richard Sieglers of the world and win the LVO or whatever it is he's done this particular week. So that's my thoughts on the book and just commentary on the changes for the Thousand Suns. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Have you bought the books? Have you just managed to acquire them from somewhere else? Shared them with your friends, whatever you've done. What do you think? Has it been enough? Should we have had some points reductions elsewhere? You're still not going to see Land Raiders because they're still expensive. You're going to see more in the troops aspect. But I'd love to hear from you, as always, in that comment section below. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I shall see you all on the next video.